Closing the conference will be our next speaker and familiar face, Windi Epperson. She will be ending the conference by letting you know what you're missing if you're not using Dynamics GP navigation lists. Please stick around after Windi's session for a live Q&A.
Hello and good afternoon. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm going to wait for 1 second to see if someone will confirm that I'm loud and clear. Welcome to the last session of the day for GP. We are talking about what you're missing if you're not using GP navigation lists. I am Windi Epperson. Technically, I'm a CPA. I'm non-practicing CPA, but I like to throw those letters out there anyhow because I passed a big old test. I've been doing GP for almost 30 years now and highly involved in the community. I really love being out here and presenting and helping. So, if you guys have any questions, just ask me. That's what my intro in Doug says is ask me. I might know. Been around for quite a while. Okay, today we're going to cover all of these things for navigation lists: configuration buttons, general navigation, shortcuts, favorites, customizing, and then some of my favorite things, mass updates, GL balances, and selective trial balance reports. I tend to talk pretty fast. I'm going to stop for some demos, and I will toggle over and look at questions when I get to the points where we're doing demos. All right, configuration buttons. So from the very bottom, if you look up at the top corner up here, this little yellow guy, at the very bottom of your navigation list, you'll see this extra button. And from there, I can show more, show fewer, add, or do navigation pane options. If I click on navigation pane options, I can actually turn things off of the navigation pane. So if I'm never using field service, I can turn it off. Project management, manufacturing. I can also sort these. So if I'm in the GL more often than I am in sales or purchasing more often than GL, I can move those up and down simply by selecting one and moving them up or down. So I can really make this do what I want it to do. Also in the navigation pane, and we'll look at this as we go live for demos, you can add windows, which are GP windows. You can add smart lists. You can add macros, external web pages, external shortcuts, and folders. So let's dig a little deeper into that. Actually, we'll look at that when we get the demo. I thought I had a demo slide there. I guess I'm going through a few before we jump over to the software. When you open a navigation list, you're going to get three sections. The top section is the action pane. So this is where you can actually do items, do things, tasks based on your lists. So the middle is your list panel. And again, this is going to build based on which navigation pane for which module and which option you're in. You're going to get a different list. And then down at the bottom is called the information pane. So as I select transactions or records in the list panel, I'm going to get additional details about those pieces about that record in the information pane. Shortcuts and folders. So I kind of covered this a little bit on this front screen, but again, just so that you can know, you can add Windows smart lists, macros, web pages, and external shortcuts. And if we don't get to a demo slide here pretty quick, then I will go ahead and pop over and we'll look at some of these things. Yep, let's go to a demo now. Okay, let me find my demo world, and hopefully you guys are seeing my GP now. Okay. So everything down this side is called your navigation pane. Within your navigation pane, you have you have an option for each module. I'm going to grab this and stretch it up so you can see all of those. You can shrink it down as well. I could do the same. This is the button I was talking about earlier, the show more or show fewer. If I didn't want to see all of those, I can show fewer and show fewer. And you'll notice as I show fewer, I still get icons down here. So I can get to those modules at the bottom. It's just a question of how much do I want to see and when. Okay, we also talked about just in general, if I go to, let's say, financial and click on account transactions, it takes a minute to load it. And this is my action area, my list pane, and my more information. So right now I'm looking at this account transaction, and it's showing me that came from journal entry 3340. You'll notice that's got my native GP Blue drill back functionality, so I can actually drill from there right into that journal entry if I want to. And this is true for, anything. If I were looking at checkbooks, if I were looking at vendors, et cetera, I can get to all the more information. When I start selecting items in my list, then the actions come available. So at that point in time, I could post this journal entry. I could edit the journal entry. I could delete it. I could go in and edit account. I can actually create new from here as well. So you can work fairly efficiently from within the navigation lists, just so that you don't miss out on those. Let me go back to my home list because I think I have a folder out here. I do, so I've got one called My Stuff and one called User Classes. So I've made a couple of folders out here. If more often than not, these were just samples that we were doing. But more often than not, what I've seen people use the folders for is to create a folder that is, say, quarterly. Well, having a slow moment here. Anyhow, I don't know why it's having a lag, but I could create a folder called quarterly. And then in that quarterly folder, I could link to spreadsheets or external web pages. I could pull up my bank website, anything else that I want to pull up, and then they are all right there. I don't want to take the time to build one for you, but just know that that's a pretty common usage. If I need to build something quarterly, something yearly, things that I don't always remember that I need to do, I can put folders in here, and I could link to a whole lot of GP Windows external websites and external spreadsheets. So it's a really handy way to use the folders in here. Let's see, what else have we talked about so far? I think that's everything we've talked about so far. So let's pop back over to the slide deck if I can. And we're going to talk about favorites. So favorites within the navigation list, they work similar to, I think I may have just heard a question come in. Let me pop over and see before I start the next topic here. Hear you, but can't see GP. It just doesn't want to show it to you. Ah, there we go. Now we're back up and running. Okay, so let's try this. Let's go back over and I can do that piece I did before. Okay, can you guys see my GP this time? Nope. Looks like it's a little slow, but there we go. Okay, so let me run through that again so you guys can see what I was actually clicking as I was talking about things. Okay, so this is your navigation list down the side. You can drag and drop to shrink this down. And as you do, you'll notice you get icons at the bottom down here. So the things that you have shrunk so that you can't see them, they're still down there, unless, as I showed in my slide, you go down here and actually change your navigation pane options. If I tell them I don't want to see this at all, field service and project, then those will go off of my list for good. So they're not. I'm not going to get icons or anything. I've knocked them off for good. In the presentation, I also showed you that you could show more or fewer buttons in here. So if I show more, it's just moving those up to the top, and fewer, moving them down, just like it did when I did the drag and drop on them. Okay. You can also, to your general one, this is where we were looking at, add windows, smart lists, macros, external websites, external shortcuts, and folders. So I think you probably heard me talking about adding folders. A lot of times when we add a folder, it is for, I don't know why it keeps adding as new folder, won't let me rename it. There we go, rename our quarterly things that we want to do. And then within that folder, I can start adding other items. So I can add a web page if this is where I need to go on a quarterly basis. And I'm doing this just because I know I can type this web page in without thinking too much about it. And you can add a shortcut to that. So if I wanted to do a keystroke to be able to open that web page, I can do that. So we'll start adding a few of those things done. And then you can see within quarterly, if I expand it, if it'll expand for me. There we go. So you could see how quickly I could build a place where I could pull in a bank website, and I could pull in an external spreadsheet, and I could pull in 3 of the windows that I need to use on a quarterly basis that I don't think about. That lets me really build some great functionality in here to streamline my job. The other thing that I showed that you guys didn't get to see is if I pick financial and just pick, I'm just going to say accounts, again, the action pane at the top, the list pane in the middle, and the information view down at the bottom. So as I start selecting accounts, my action items will come available. Edit and activate, and then new things I can do. And I can pick multiple random accounts. And then down here, if I wanted to drill into this bank and see some more detail, I could. So those are all the things that I showed before that you guys didn't get to see. Any questions on any of that? Okay, if we have no questions on that, then we'll pop back over to the slide deck for a minute. one of the benefits of navigation lists is that you can save your favorites. And it is somewhat akin to Smart List. There are some features that work better than Smart List, and then there are some features that are a little more limited than Smart List. So we'll take a look at how you can create a favorite and save it. In this slide that I have showing, I've got a couple of them down here. I've got one for Division 100, all the accounts that start with 61. All the accounts random, all the 100 accounts. Those are just some examples. And you can also customize these. So we're going to look at doing both of those options. Yep, we're going to look at doing both of those options now. So let's toggle over. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of examples here. One of them for accounts, because a lot of times we want to run a report for some accounts that we really can't. Actually, I could do that for a transaction. Let's just do it for accounts. So just to get you started on creating and saving a favorite. The piece that is similar to Smart List is that we can add filters on here, but different than Smart List is I can add a list of filters that vary. So I can have as many filters as I want up here, and they can be ands or and nots or ors or nots or and eithers. So let's just say I'm going to do a filter where segment 1 contains 100. And then I'm going to do another filter where and segment 3 contains, I hope that 50 is valid. We'll go look and see if I got anything there. And then I'm just going to click these arrows to run those queries. Nope, so 50 is not a valid one. Let's just see what we've got for 100. And we'll scroll real quick and see if we have any. I don't have any other digits at the end. So, but you could see where I could also do, let's change this a little bit, and I will do segment 1 is 300. So I want my 100s and my 300s instead of just my 100s. And then I could go in, I guess I don't have 300s either. 200s. Oh, no. It's because and doesn't work. I need to do, let me get rid of that one. I think I could do both of them. Or, that's what I want. Or segment 1 contains 300. I seem to have locked up for just a second. But you get the idea. There we go. Finally loaded for me. So now I have accounts that are 100s and 300s. So if I were doing a report in native GP, that would be hard to get to. This is not just like the best example in the world. I might want to do something where I've got revenue accounts and expense accounts or something else that, is a random bit of information. But the point of just creating a simple one is that you can see now when I get one that I like, I can save it as, and I can name it whatever I want. So I can do accounts, seg1 equals 100 or 300. And we'll say okay to that. And now that shows in my list, just like a Smart List favorite. So anytime I click on that, it's automatically going to do that criteria. Once I have one saved, then I can customize it. So I'm going to click on that same down arrow. I'm going to choose Customize. And I've got a lot of things, and my rendering is going to be a problem here. So we'll have to see if we can do that. It's a way that the remote desktop renders with the resolution I have on. I bumped the resolution so you guys could see my screen, but it kind of renders away some of my GP options. Basically, there's checkboxes here. So, and this is in the slide, you'll see that. But they're checkboxes, whether I want to show the filter options or not, whether I want to show the action pane at the top, whether I want to show the information pane, and whether I want to show Business Analyzer. So I can turn those on or not. I can also get on here columns, and I can pick extra columns. Now, this is where we differ from Smart List because we only have a set number of columns. I can't add extra columns to these. So if the column I want is not here, I can't add that. I believe that with E1's Smart List Builder, you can create some navigation lists where you could add extra columns. I'm not 100% sure that. It's been a while since I've touched that product, but I'm pretty sure you can. But this is where we, again, differ from Smart List a little bit because I can't add extra columns. I can add actions to the action pane. So if there's something that I want to do that isn't up here, I can go in and choose which group it's in. If it's like the modify group right here, or the new group, or the restrictions group. So I can pick which group it is, and then I can go out and start grabbing whatever action that is that I want to add to it. And then sharing. So I really like this feature. You can share this with everyone, or you can share it with specific people. And you can choose if I want to add a user down at the bottom, or if I wanted to add a role, if I'm using roles, I can add it to a specific role. So the good news is I can create this favorite and lock it down so I'm the only one who uses it. But if it's very useful, I can actually create the favorite and let other people see it as well. And then you have report settings down here as well. So you can choose if you want to be able to link up here, which reports you want to link. This is also you can link these reports to custom SSRS reports. So if you want to do that, that's great. Once I get my settings set the way I want, if I had added extra columns or changed anything, I could preview that, or I can just save it, and those settings will be out there for the next time I want to use them. Let me think if there's another one that I really like to show on this. I don't know if I have any other ones saved. Let's see. I have Bob's review list. So it looks like in this one, I've added a tax ID number. This is very helpful if I wanted to go in and say, maybe create a report for 1099s or something like that. I don't think, as far as customizing, I think that's basically it. Once I've created it, I can go back out here and customize it, or save again, save it as if I want to change it as something else. I could show and hide the pieces if I want to, if I click customize, then I'll be able to change the settings. I think that's all there is on that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come in yet. So let's pop back over to the slide deck. And let's talk about one of my favorite features of navigation lists, which is mass updates. We get this question a lot. The one I get specifically the most is, how can I unassign items from sites in mass? And yes, that is built into the smart lists. So several of them are really handy. Most windows have some kind of a mass update. In this screenshot I'm showing here, I'm on vendors. And as I start picking vendors, I could inactivate them. I could set them to temporary. So those are some mass options that I have to be able to update. Let's go take a quick look at inventory. So we're going to pop down here to inventory. We're going to pull up a list of items. And then we're just going to randomly pick a couple. I'm not going to walk this all the way through, but just so you can see. Again, I could put queries in here if I wanted to. So if I wanted to start seeing everything for a specific class ID, or if I wanted to see, a specific short name, etc., I can start querying into that data. And then once I've started selecting, I now have this beautiful unassigned site or assigned site. So a lot of times when we start setting up sites, we go into the site button and we say, add all the items. And then we go, oh, wait, we don't really want them all in there. This is a great way to come in here and start unassigning really easily. You just pick the site that you want to unassign them from and click unassign. Same thing if you're going to assign. I can go in and assign them all to a specific site. So if I wanted to pick a class and assign an entire class of inventory to a new warehouse that we have, I can do that really quickly and easily. I can also inactivate this list. So again, really quickly, I need to take a bunch of inventory items that we no longer need and inactivate those. Let's just pop through a couple of them real quick. Vendors. Again, once I start picking a handful of vendors, I can mass inactivate them. I can mass change them to temporary. I can mass apply a hold. So this modify button and mass delete. Obviously, there's some rules behind the scenes that will or won't let you delete. Sales, we'll just work our way up the list. Same thing. I have the ability, once I start picking a handful of customers, to delete them, apply holds, inactivate or reactivate or remove holds. So mass updates in here. We love, love, love these. And lastly, same with GL accounts. Once I start picking some accounts, then I've got the ability to inactivate or reactivate all those accounts in mass. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, I'm seeing questions about age trial balance with overdue balances and some emailing functionality. So let's go. I'm pretty sure that's next in my slide deck. Oh, nope, we have GL batches first. Okay, so GL batches, I'm going to toggle over to this one and do this one live. When they added GL batches out here, I thought, well, that's kind of stupid. And I didn't really see the functionality in it. But then they updated the functionality, and now this is one of my favorite things in the world. So if you've been using GP for a very long time, You know that you used to have to go in and you would go into select batches for posting and you would mark them all. And then if there were any errors, you had to go in and unmark them all and go into the batches individually to fix them and just go round and round in circles trying to get the batches clean and ready to go. Well, in this window, I can click anything. So I've got a cash management transaction there. I'm not going to pick these two big ones, a receiving transaction and a sales transaction. Completely unrelated, doesn't matter. Once they're selected, I can go out and run an edit list on these guys. And we'll go to screen if it'll let me. And what I'm going to get, nope, it went to printer because the resolution is wonky. But you'll see I get it 3 times. What I'm going to get is 3 edit lists. So I can actually review those edit lists right here on the screen. And if there's something wrong with them, then I've got my information pane down here where I can drill back into and look at that batch and fix anything. I've got a bad posting date, I've got a transaction, whatever it is that's wrong with it, and fix it. And then once I've got those batches where they're all nice and happy, I can post them. So from one window, I can do soup to nuts for batches, which is just fabulous. I love this feature. Used to think it was weird, now I love it. Any questions on that one? Okay, let's pop back over to our slide deck. And the next thing is what I call selective reports. So this leads to the questions you guys had about trial balances. So you can go in and cherry pick unrelated items, unrelated customers, unrelated vendors, etc., and run reports for them. So, in general ledger, it's really hard to get kind of a selective trial balance because you have to either pick a range of accounts or a range of segments. You have to things have to be contiguous for it to work. But with navigation lists, they do not. So let's hop over and take a look. So let's go back to just accounts. We'll start there. And let's just pick, a handful of random, completely unrelated, doesn't really matter what accounts. I could, again, use my filters. So if I wanted to go look for all the accounts that said cash, I could do that. If I have maybe an expense account that crosses different departments or branches, then I could look for that expense account across all the branches without having to be contiguous. I'm going to do just a simple one, just random 4 accounts, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to print a trial balance, and hopefully this time it will let me actually print it to screen, and it's not going to let me print it to screen. So let's see if I can get it. I don't know if it's going to go to PDF or not. We'll see. We did get it to screen. Okay, so this has built, here's the first account that I picked. I probably should not have done this in detail with a cash account. Let's scroll on down a little faster. There was the second account. I saw it. Second account I picked. Another cash account. Good choice, Windi. Get through all those payroll entries. Probably should have a date range on there too. And here's the last 2 accounts that I picked. So trial balance for 4 completely unrelated accounts, which is fabulous. Now let's go down. And one of the questions was, can you do a current balance? And you can. So this is a saved favorite we have, customers greater than 10,000. I don't know who Paul is, but 10,000 Paul for some reason. And then from here, again, I could cherry pick a handful of these and run a trial balance. So I can do an age trial balance, historical trial balance. I could also send this out to Excel. And I believe I can do customer letters in here, but I'm not sure where that is. Assess finance charges, print statements, do an aging. So lots of information in here. Like I said, I do think you can do customer letters out of here, some of the out-of-the-box letter writing assistant letters, but I don't know where it is at the moment. So this one, again, is a good saved example because every time I open this, is going to show me everybody who's got a current balance greater than $10,000. All right, I'm still not seeing any questions. So let's pop back over here, see where we are. We're getting close to the end here. The last thing, troubleshooting. Okay, so at the bottom of your navigation list, if you see the option for customer experience as a navigation list button, it shouldn't be there. There was a problem, I don't know which version it was on, maybe going from 10 to 2010 or 2010 to 2015, I don't know, where they got that loaded wrong. And it was actually, it's this table, the SY07130, that got kind of mixed up. And the biggest problem with it, it's not a problem. The button just doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. But if it's there, then if you have Professional Service Tools library loaded, you won't be able to get the navigation button for Professional Service Tools. So you can reset this by deleting the SY07130. If that scares you, you can make a backup at first. But and definitely talk to your partner before you go, deleting tables in SQL. Never want to do that without a little consultation. But this table actually does rebuild itself when you open GP. So you want to make sure you don't have people in, as always. If I'm doing something behind the scenes with the SQL database, make sure you got everybody out and everything's clean before you do it. But you can clean this out and it just rebuilds itself as soon as you get back into GP. The other thing, I need to see what my link here is. This is just the general Microsoft Learning website to get more information on this. And I'm missing let me go back. I'm missing a point on this. A lot of people don't use navigation lists because they throw errors. So let's toggle over and take a look. If you've ever tried to open a list and it just starts throwing errors and errors and errors and it never will open, it's because it's trying to load the business analysis reports. And if you don't have those deployed, then it causes errors because it's trying to go find them and they're not deployed. So the business analysis reports are part of deploying the SQL reporting service reports. So right here, reporting service reports, mine are deployed. However, if I don't want to deploy the reports, I can go out here to administration and I can go to system preferences and I can tell it to not display. So if these are turned off, again, these should be checkboxes that are not rendering properly in my window. But if I uncheck display business analyzer on navigation lists, then it's not going to try and build those business analyzer reports and I won't get 800 errors every time I open these. So really quickly, you could either turn them off completely or you could deploy the SSRS reports. I'm a big fan of deploying the SQL reports because you can do in SQL, this is beyond scope of this class, but if you have the SQL reports deployed, then you actually can get age trial balance reports that print very easily to Excel, that export to Excel in a formatted version instead of kind of an ugly, non-usable version. So 6 of one, half does the other. Even when I have my SQL reporting services reports deployed, I have the business analyzer on navigations turned off because I just don't want to wait for it to load a couple of KPIs that I'm not using. So if you've ever not been able to use it, there's your key button right there, administration, system preferences, and just turn that button off. Okay, let's pop back over here for a minute and see if there are questions. What do most people do with Business Analyzer? Do they even use it? I don't think a lot of people use it anymore. I mean, it's kind of nice. There are some nice reports out there. If you want to wait for them to build, there's KPIs and things that can really help you track customers over balance, customers with balances that are too large, et cetera. So there's some nice reports out there, but no, nobody really adopted them. And so I don't think they've been maintained in a while. So David, turn it off. Just turn it off. It does slow things down and you probably can do what you need in Power BI faster than you could do it in Business Analyzer. But if you're not a Power BI person and you do want some of those reports, they're there. Let's pop back over one more time. I think that was actually my last slide. And it was. So now we move to Q&A. Anybody have any other questions for me? I told you guys I talk fast. Now you got to ask questions. Let's see if I can. I haven't done that one in a while, Carol, so we'll take a look. And if I'm missing it, then you guys can tell me how to get to it. We'll go to purchasing and we'll try some vendors. All right, pick a handful of vendors and mark multiple reports that are set to email. Oh, I don't think these reports are sent to email. Carol, do you have, Carol just went offline. She asked for the request. Do you have an example of one that, right off the bat that we can do that with? I've not done an email one in a while. Oh, so this is, okay. So this is not using a navigation list of data. We're talking report lists. Okay, so if we wanted to do just a trial balance, I'm not going to walk this all the way through, but that's not a good one. Let's do a new feature in 18.7. So that's good. I guess I haven't done it in a while because it didn't exist. Let's go to sales and see if the one that Carol is telling us to look at is there. I can see the option up here for send an email. I just have to find an applicable report. Still doesn't want to enable that. It could be that my environment is not set up with email functionality, but this is what Carol's talking about, is send an email. You now have the ability to send these things out. So if I were to print, probably just maybe an open order would do it. Nope. Should, at some point in time, I should be able to click, and maybe I need to generate the report first, but I have not played with this feature. So I can look it up and get information to anybody who wants it, or you can go look at the new 18.7 features and see how to use it out on the Microsoft Learning page. Okay, if there's no more questions, then I will go ahead and close out. I think my Q&A slide has my contact information on it. So you've got my email if you want to, or my Twitter handle. I do not check Twitter quite as often. But you're welcome to reach out to me via any of the contact points.